which has been really helpful in my cookie business, is I develop every single cookie recipe myself. And I have a team that tries it, and we break it and we leave it out for days and we do all these things to it, right? But the creative side is something that just really came naturally to me. And
welcome back to Fearless Narrative, a show that's all about the incredible stories of women who are changing the game, breaking the rules, and pushing through the boundaries to face their fears head on, because they are fearless entrepreneurs and creatives, and we love to see it. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and on our show, we go into a deep dive into captivating storytelling and engaging conversations with these incredible women as they share how they are pursuing their passions and shattering glass ceilings along the way. We love that so much. It's so inspiring and so empowering to share these stories with you. And hopefully it will empower you to embrace your own fearless path. Our show is all about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, as well as women supporting women. We love that. We need more of that always. So before we get started, don't forget to hit the button to subscribe to our show. We also would love a nice 5-star review at the end. Without further ado, let's go into a new episode right now. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to Fearless Narratives. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and today we have the pleasure of talking with Tiffany Lewis, a Cordon Bleu-trained chef and the visionary founder of Cookies with Tiffany. Tiffany's journey reads like a recipe for success, with a culinary education that includes working alongside Curtis Stone and Giada de Laurentiis. She's honed her skills to create culinary magic. But her passion doesn't stop there. She has taken the entrancement of baking and turned it into community building through her woman-owned small batch cookie company. Her online store transforms the e-commerce experience, allowing customers to envision the delightful taste and texture of her creations. Get ready to indulge your senses as we dive into this conversation with Tiffany Lewis, a chef who's redefining the art of cookies. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
All right, so let's go from the beginning and talk about the moment or experience that ignited your passion for baking and led to the creation of your company.
Yes, well, I would say that that moment really started a long, long time ago when I was a little kid. And that was something that we would do as a family. We'd come together, we'd bake together, we'd cook together. And so that idea of coming together around something sweet and delicious and the smells that came from that, that energy that we all have that, right? Like that memory of like the smell of cookies baking or whatever. And so I think that was kind of like the root of this foundation that kind of came into this whole company. And that started when I was a little kid. So a long, long time ago. But I would say for this company specifically, the root of like wanting to do something that had to do with bringing people together really started when I moved to Columbus, Ohio for a job transfer. And it was in the middle of winter. I didn't know anybody. I did not know how to drive in the snow. I could write a whole book about my experiences living in Ohio in the middle of winter. That would actually it would be a comedy. I mean, it would be a bestseller comedy of the story. And that's really where I discovered like the joy that came from giving and receiving cookies. And so when the pandemic happened and so many of us lost our jobs and were kind of displaced and couldn't come together with family for special occasions, I also lost my job. And so I felt it. I felt that genuine, like, gosh, everything was so great. And now I can't be near my family. I can't travel. I can't be there for someone's milestone. And it got me thinking about what is something I can do to bring people together in a safe and effective way on a national level. And cookies came to mind, and I've always been obsessed with cookies. I mean, everywhere I go and like try the cookies because I just love cookies so much. I mean, who doesn't, right? And so that was really that moment where I took that foundation when I was a kid and that memory of making cookies at work in Ohio and bringing them to work and really building a community through that. That made me settle on this idea of a cookie for a handshake. And like, and that's kind of where it started in Ohio, is like, I made cookies, people came to my desk, I met them, it created community. So now we can't handshake, we're fist pumping, or we're like waving through windows and on Zoom. And so I took that idea and I was like, I'm going to ship cookies nationally. And so you can send cookies to your friend that just celebrated a milestone that was in Ohio or wherever, in a safe way, and with something nostalgic and delicious. And so that was kind of the actual moment where I pivoted and like made it a career. But I've been leading up to that moment for a very, very long time. And it's been such an incredible journey, and I get to bring joy to people's life. And that is such a great job. Like, that's my job. I love my job. I have the best job.
You do.
I know, like, nobody's mad when they see me, they see me. And if I have this little white bag with the logo Cookies with Tiffany on it, like, people get really excited because I think they think that there's something in it for them. And so usually it is. So, but that it's such a joyful thing. But I would say is like the actual pinpoint moment. But like anybody in any career, I mean, there's little moments along your journey that I think even if you look back, right, how did you get here? There's little moments in your life where you're like, oh, if only I knew this is what we were working towards, right? So it's been a journey, but it's been great.
Oh, that's such a great story. I love how passionate you are about it. It really shines through your words, and just seeing you on video. Just, I can feel how much you enjoy what you do, and I love that.
Oh, I do. It's so genuine, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
so genuine, which is makes me wake up with a smile on my face every morning. So,
and that's the best part. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that's a little bit more technical versus personal. But baking and culinary arts are often seen as a blend of science and creativity. So how do you balance the precision required in the kitchen with the freedom to experiment to create new flavors and recipes?
that is such a great question, and no one has ever asked me that question.
I worked hard
I
on it.
love it. I love it so much. You're right. I mean, they say that you can tell a lot about somebody whether or not they like to bake or they like to cook. They say a baker is a little type A, very precise, very organized, like things a certain way. I mean, neat and tidy, right? And then a chef, like a culinary savory cook, is very like, that tastes right, or need something else. And there's a lot more exploration and creativity, and just not really creativity, but just a lot more freedom to ad lib, right? Um, and so I would think baking fits my personality really well because I do like structure. I'm very organized. I have always, like, even right now, a piece of paper, I always am writing lists. I have sticky notes and every color and every size. I mean, I literally right here at my desk, this is like real life right here. I had highlighters in every color because each color means something different.
I love
So
highlighters.
yeah, I know, me too. So yes, I'm a little bit, OCD on certain things. But through that, you have to be able to be adaptable, right? Because it's not just what cookie I want, it's what does my audience want. I might not like, macadamia nuts, but people are asking for it. And so it's up to me to be able to get creative and think of ways that I can bring a macadamia nut into a cookie, and I might not be my favorite cookie, right? So that's something that I feel like has been fun for me in a challenging way, is being able to, like, okay, it's okay, this sticky note is not pink, it's green, but it's okay, it's still going to serve the purpose, right? And being able to adapt to that. When I first started, my first job in culinary was actually working for a celebrity chef in Los Angeles. I worked for Curtis Stone, and I was on his culinary team. And about 2 weeks in, he said to me, he's like, his executive chef wasn't able to attend an event in New York. We were living in LA. And he's like, I need you to come with me. It's a cooking demo in front of all these journalists from the Wall Street Journal and all these different major publications. I need you to come with me and help me do all the food styling for the demo, and just help me with the show. So of course I'm like, oh my gosh, like what? Okay. So I bring all my sticky notes because they're right here, right? And I remember going through that process and I had to organize the whole table so everything looked beautiful, right? And then he would come out and then put it together and I would kind of be there on the side, like the sidekick, the banter, right? Um, and I realized at that moment, like, I'm actually quite creative. I could not draw you a picture to save my life, but I'm actually quite creative when it comes to making food look beautiful. And there's a whole science to that, right? So I learned the science behind food because we did a lot of R&D, which has been really helpful in my cookie business, as I develop every single cookie recipe myself. And I have a team that tries it and we break it and we leave it out for days and we do all these things to it, right? But the creative side is something that just really came naturally to me. And when you think of creativity, oftentimes I would think of creativity like, oh, you've got beautiful penmanship and you can draw really well and you can paint and you can do all these things. But there's so many different forms of being creative. It could be a creative thinker, it could be a creative writer, it could be food styling, right? And it could be a fashion designer putting together fashion trends and a stylist, something like that. And so that has been a really interesting learning curve for me about myself, is like I actually am quite creative and I really do like the precision, but I also really enjoy the R&D process, which is you fail quite a bit, right? But then you also win quite a bit too. And so it's been really fun to kind of go through that discovery cycle and learn about myself, and that I do wear all of those hats and I am able to adapt where I need to. It's just a reminder to like, don't take yourself so seriously, enjoy the process, trust the process. And I think if you do that, then you allow yourself the opportunity to continue to grow and be more creative and be more uh, scientific and it's fun. I mean, I love it. I geek out over this stuff. Like
I
one of
can
the things I
see.
said, oh my gosh, I know, get me started, right? How much time do we have? A couple hours, right? Great. One thing, one of my tips is that when it comes to baking is baking soda spreads and baking powder puff. And so those are just simple things that like once you understand like what baking soda does in a cookie or powder does in a cookie, or what brown sugar does versus white sugar, or egg yolk versus egg white. Oh, it's so fun because you get to really just develop all these incredible recipes and have that perfect chew and taste and look. And I mean, I could go on, but it's been a wonderful journey to be able to like wear all of the hats and wear them all at the same time too.
That was a great answer. Thank you so much.
Sorry, it was a very long answer, but I
No,
just had so much to say.
it was so good. Thank you. Okay, so starting a company is no small feat. Obviously, I've done it. I'm doing it now. It's ridiculously hard. And also, I love how you talk about the creative thinking behind baking, because I'm a creative myself, and I understand from my point of like painting and drawing how much work goes into that as a fine artist or a designer. So hearing about how it goes into baking and a whole new industry for me is so powerful and so interesting. So now I want to ask you more about the challenges that you face building your company and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I would think some of the challenges that I had, a lot of people have when they're starting a business. My biggest challenge was that I started during the middle of a worldwide pandemic.
Same.
Yes, and so there were simple things like I couldn't find flour. I
Mm,
couldn't find butter. My vanilla was the price of my vanilla was so expensive. I use pure vanilla, so there were a lot of difficulties in the beginning, just simply being able to operate my business because I didn't have access to certain key ingredients, like literally, right? You can't make cookies without flour and different kinds of flour. I mean, you line up your King Arthur and your gold medal and all your flours, they all perform a little bit differently, even though they're all purpose. They all are different levels of gluten and starch, etc. So you really need to like pick a flour and stay in that flour lane. You can't bop around. And so I go to the store and there's no flour, or there's only one kind, and I'd have to try that. So that was a really big challenge in the beginning. The second challenge is that I wasn't able to get out there in front of people in the physical sense of standing out in front of people, right? I was online, and online can be very saturated, right? And so to promote my business, so I had to find a way to stand out on an online platform where there's a lot of companies out there selling cookies as well as brownies and everything else in between. So it was up to me to prove the point of why cookies and why Cookies with Tiffany. And my background when I took that job in Ohio was in corporate marketing. And so I was very fortunate that I had a really extensive marketing background that I was able to promote myself and my brand. And I had a little bit of time on my hand. So, I was able to do that. And so that was a challenge that I was able to overcome simply because I had the experience. And then I would say the other challenge that I think a lot of us, and maybe even you had in the beginning, is just like, why you and why should you care, right? Like your customers are like, you have to constantly prove yourself to your customers because there's a lot of competition. And so for me, it was constantly trying to figure out, well, why should you care? Why is my cookie better? Why do you want to trust us with your corporate gifting needs? And why, being able to tell that story that people could really buy into, and then the repeat customer, the repeat listener, right, is really the ultimate at the end of it. So I still work on that today. I continue to ask myself every day, why should somebody care about my cookie? Why should they try mine and not theirs? And that is what I answer to when I'm coming out with a new cookie and when I'm trying to grow my business. And we're right in that huge growth cycle right now. I ask myself, why should you care? Why Cookies with Tiffany? And so those are some of the biggest obstacles. There's quite a few in between, right? I mean, your electricity doesn't work one day and you can't make your cookies. You're by yourself and you need 10 more hands, and you don't have 10 more people, 5 more people to help. So there are those little things, the nitty gritty of the everyday business. But the bigger obstacle is just, who's going to buy this cookie that I'm making and paying for? And that is just, that's the evolution of any business. You're constantly have to ask yourself that question. But it's been fun. Again, like I said earlier, I try not to take myself so seriously. I trust the process. I trust myself. I know what I'm doing. I have a culinary background. I have a marketing background. If I am creating a value-driven product for my consumer and they buy into it, the rest will come naturally. It's as simple as that. You have to offer a value add business, whether it's a cookie or a service or content. And if you can deliver that to your customer, that is what's going to hook them. And it's genuine.
I love the confidence and the passion behind your answers. Okay. I'm really inspired. So I'm not
I
sure
need
where
a time clock here. Like for me.
No, you're fine.
You have 2 minutes to answer, Tiffany.
No, I love your answers. So, okay, so I'm not sure where I found this from. Either it was in your bio or maybe your website, but it said that your products are described as refined but not fussy. So what does that concept mean to you, and how do you translate that into your creations and brand identity?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking. That's a great question. I like to say that every cookie is refined in the sense that there's ultimate care and attention to detail that goes into every part of the process. How we source our ingredients, where we source our ingredients, using local wherever possible, local eggs, local butter, our flour that we're incorporating is local from a local mill that I visited. Our toffee is local. Our habanero sea salt is local. Like the fruit that we use local. And so that's really important to me, is that whole process has to be refined. I want to serve the best cookies possible. And that starts in the beginning. If you use great attention to detail and you use premium products and you treat a cookie simply, the rest will speak for itself. No preservatives, no imitation vanilla, no junk. We use good stuff, full fat butter. Everything is good. No margarine, none of like the preservatives. Everything is really good. And you can trust the difference with that. So because of that, it's a very refined cookie. Everything is very thoughtfully done, and everything that's in it is very thoughtfully thought through. And then also, so that's the refined part. How we bake it, how we store it, when we make it, how long the dough rests before we bake it. We bake fresh every day. So there's all of that refinement is just in terms of that entire process from start to finish. I say not fussy because at the end of the day, it's a cookie. It is a cookie. It's a chocolate chip cookie, the best you've ever had, but it's a cookie. And so I don't want to make it unapproachable. I want you to enjoy it. I want my 2-year-old nephew to enjoy it. And I want my 85-year-old father to enjoy it, and everybody in between and over and under. I want everyone to enjoy my cookie and have that chew, that taste, and that look that is just this beautiful cookie, and it's not fussy, it's approachable. And so that is a line that I continue whenever I go into a new cookie. I want it to be the beautiful, refined cookie, and it tastes good and it looks good, and the packaging is refined, and there's a bow. Then the bow is cut on a bias. It's very pretty. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to be so pretty and fussy that they don't want to touch it. Like it's like you're in a museum and you don't want to touch it because you're scared it's going to break. Like, no, touch it, untie that bow. Everyone loves to untie a bow. It's so special, right? That's why there's a bow on it when we do our shipping and all of that. And so there's a line, right? And so I think we've done a really good job at creating something that's approachable. But then when you try it and you experience it and you're talking to my team members, like you're like, oh, this is a really good cookie. Like, heck yeah, this is amazing. So I think that's really important, to be able to have a brand to create the longevity that we're looking for, is that customers continue to want to come back because of the refinement, but also because it's just the best darn cookie that they've ever had.
Now, I want to ask you about the e-commerce experience for your customers. Can you describe how you design your online store to not only sell cookies, but also to create an enjoyable customer journey?
Yeah. I think a lot of what drives a sale is a customer buying into a brand and a story of a brand. I think people genuinely care about what they're buying, what they're eating, and they want to be a part of something. And so we're not like a fast food place where you're hungry and it's transactional. You drive through, you get it, and you leave. So my e-commerce platform is very purposeful in terms of it tells our story, and it shares like the genuine mission of what we're doing, why we're doing it. And then it kind of walks you through my background to build credibility that, hey, we know what we're doing. I'm not just in my home kitchen making cookies for you and getting recipes in a cookbook. Like, I am developing every cookie by hand. I have a full production kitchen where I am right now. My office is here. And so the e-commerce platform is very purposeful in the sense that I want people to go there, stay there, browse around, read our story, and come away with a desire to purchase and to gift to their friends, and to feel like I'm including them in my journey. I mean, just simply the fact that it's Cookies with Tiffany is very purposeful, right? And so it's all about people coming together with a cookie, coming together with others to share a cookie. It's very community driven. I'm all about driving community through the sheer enjoyment of a cookie. And so that idea resonates across all parts of my business, including the e-commerce, because that's where people usually start. If you're in another state, you might not have ever seen me at a farmer's market or at my shop or at a pop-up or at many of the events that we do around the city. And so your first experience, listening here, the first experience will be for them to go online and see our website. And that is my opportunity to capture you and to bring you into this journey with me, and kind of this like, let's do this together. And so I hope that that is what customers feel when they come to the website, and that when they feel that, they build brand loyalty, and that drives into a sale. It's also very genuine for me. It's like, yes, I need to sell cookies to support the business and the website, etc. But also it's very much like, I'm not pressuring anybody to buy a cookie. I'm sharing with you how incredible the cookies are. I'm sharing with you about our give back component that we do to Children's and Swedish Hospital. I'm sharing with you about like why you should care and how we can serve you and your customers with our shipping, etc. And then I'm letting you determine what to do with that information. So I'm trying not to be so pushy and salesy. I'm I believe, like I said earlier, that if you have a great product, it will speak for itself and the rest will follow. And so that is my intention with the website, is that it just automatically, naturally, genuinely leads to the sale because people buy into the brand. And then when they try it, I mean, it's after that, they
It's
just like
done.
reorder, right? How do we just put this on automatic reorder? And I can help you with that.
I love that. I definitely am turned off by brands where I feel aggressive sales, feelings to them, because then I'm like, I don't want this because you're forcing it on me. But with you, I feel it's more of a real, genuine, engagement or interaction with you. So I'm actually more impressed and more inclined to buy from you than, those who are trying to force it down my throat.
Yes, yes. And it feels more natural that way. It's like, yeah, I agree. And that's why I do that because, I obsess over my customers. I want them to have a great experience from the ordering process to the execution to my customer service team and everything in between. And so I care about my community and my people, and I don't want to be aggressively pitched. So why would I want them to be? That just doesn't
Amen.
seem fun.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
So before bacon, what other passions or interests have you had, and do they influence your approach to entrepreneurship and building your community?
Yeah, so I'm a big athlete. I've loved playing sports my entire life. I played tennis in college and I played volleyball also my first year, and then finished with just tennis. My brother played tennis all through university as well. My sister did it as well. My entire family were all entrepreneurs. So everyone in my family has their own business, sister, brother, mom, and dad. So I have a great example on the entrepreneurial side, but I would say the athlete side, the sports side, when you're on a team, you're on a team. There's what do they say? There's no I in team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I've been in positions where I've been the freshman on the team and I've been the captain on the team and I've been the senior on the team, right? And so you learn from sports at a very young age. I think I started playing tennis when I was 3 years old. I mean, we literally were hitting balloons, and my teddy bear was sitting right there watching and cheering me on because that was very important. I remember that specifically. And we had balloons, and we're like hitting balloons because you're three, right? It was like I don't even know which side of the racket to hold on to. Like, and it was. I remember that though, right? Because it was fun and we were all out there and we were doing it and we were working together to keep the balloon up off the ground. And fast forward, you think about when I went to university in California, I live in Seattle. I didn't know anyone there either. And immediately my family became the volleyball team, which was the first sport of the season. We would eat together, we would hang out together, we would do all the things together. We trained together almost every day. We would get to school before school started. So that was my family. And so for me, team, camaraderie, everyone, you're only as strong as your weakest link. All of those things that you hear about team and the quotes that you read, it's so true. And so for me now with my company, people will often ask me, you always say we do this and we do that. Like, who's we? It's like you're the owner. Like, who's the we? And I'm like, we is my entire team. I have a gal in here right now baking. My dad is in the other room stamping bags. My dog's over here sleeping, I mean, there's someone else, other bake shop, and she's over there baking right now. So I have an entire team, and I couldn't sit here and do what I'm doing if I didn't have a team supporting me and a dog just keeping me sane, right? So I think those are two really big experiences from being a part of something, and it's not just about you have to depend on each other. And having your own business, and I don't know, maybe you would agree with me, it can be very lonely, right? I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
here, you're there late at night editing, or I'm here, like going through orders or packaging cookies or going through the calendar or whatever. There's so many things to do, right? I'm not just making cookies all day. There's a lot more than making cookies to running a business, um, including mopping the floors. So, and there's a restroom too. So sometimes I'm in there cleaning that as well. So, there's some unglamorous sides to every business,
Yeah.
right? Um, but at the end of the day, like when you have an incredible team and community around you, the community are the people that are buying my cookies, and my team is the one that's helping me make it possible. I learned that from sports and entrepreneurship. I learned from my family. I mean, the sacrifices that you make, right? I mean, I work every weekend at farmers markets. That's not ideal, right? Try starting a relationship where you're the only one. You have to work every weekend and you meet someone great that understands it. And you're like, okay, awesome, we're doing this. But it's hard,
Yeah.
but you love what you do. And so I've learned from them that sure, there's sacrifices to everything in life, but there is so much gain. You get to do exactly what you want to do, and you get to wake up and be proud of that. You did that. Like I did this, right? Like I built this business. Like I'm sitting in an office and I'm paying rent here, right? Like I'm able to do this.
Mhm.
So it's really a wonderful feeling. And those are two things specifically, I would say.
I've been smiling like nonstop this whole interview because of you. You can see my cheeks are hurting me now.
I
I love your answer.
I love that.
I love that. I love you. um,
The feeling's
so,
mutual, okay? We'll just go and eat
uh,
cookies together.
absolutely. I'm also a big fan of how important it is to have community, and I think that that's what drove me to build my company to feel less alone during entrepreneurship, but also as an artist. And I admire you for also seeing the value in and for having that be a big part of your company as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
Looking ahead, what are your dreams and aspirations for your company, and how do you envision to continue to create moments of connection and joy in the lives of your customers? That was a hard question for me to
Yeah.
say.
No, that's a mouthful, but no, I completely understand what you're saying, what you're asking. We just finished our third year in business. And so every year, and there's been no business as usual year because I started during a pandemic. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, well, what am I comparing things to? Like, I can't really compare to last year, right? Because last year, like, we couldn't even be in public. And then, I mean, not this, like, when I
Yeah.
first, like last year, I was thinking this for the first year, right? Now it's like, okay, last year seems kind of normal. Like people could do things, we could travel, there wasn't as many mandates. This year feels like maybe the first year of like, okay, we're feeling better, we're coming out more. So it's hard for me to gather data that I can do something with, right? And in every business, you compare year to date. What were we doing last year? Well, my shipping numbers were a lot different my first year than they are now, right? Because you could only ship the first year.
Mhm.
And we still ship a lot right now. We're even shipping locally now. So it's just so my future goals for the business is to continue to define like where are we adding the best service, right? Clearly we make a great cookie, but we also do a lot. We do catering, we have wholesale, we're in the Mariners games, which has been a huge win for us. Like our cookies are at the Mariners game, like that is so awesome. Like what an honor, right, for me to be able to see my cookie there, like so wonderful. We have a bake shop. We are doing pop-ups downtown Seattle now in a big huge building downtown on Cedar Hall building downtown. We're doing a television show on Fox every month making cookies. I mean, so there's just like, oh,
Wow.
what should we do more of, right? Or less of, and what should get, what should stay. But what I say, what brings me the most joy is being able to speak to what we're doing, right? Clearly, I have a great cookie and I want to continue to deliver a great cookie. But one of my biggest goals would simply be figuring out how we can continue to grow our business in terms of more online television. So maybe it's a cooking show, maybe it's a cookbook, maybe it's writing a column in a newspaper about cooking tips and baking tips and gathering tips. And I say all this in a very genuine way of like my goal is to help people find more opportunities to come together with one another. And I'm using a cookie as a metaphor, right? I'm using a cookie is what's bringing my community together, like a shared community through a cookie. So that's kind of my ultimate goal, and being able to do that in more of a media front, in front of people. My other goal is to continue to grow our business, and so we ship nationally. I have shipped to every single state. We haven't gone internationally yet, but we're working on that. But we want you to have a really fresh cookie. So it's like, how much are you willing to pay for a really fresh cookie, right? When it comes to the shipping part. And so my other goal is like, okay, where do we go next? Do we put a brick and mortar in California or Texas or Florida or New York? New York.
Come New York.
And it's on the list. And so, and you'll be the first to know. But that's like the next thing too. It's like, how do we leave Seattle, stay in Seattle? This is my hometown, but like, how do we grow and like get out in front of people more often? I mean, one of the greatest opportunities for me is when I can get in front of people and talk to them and share with them and create a community through a personal touch, right? And so I do that very well here in Seattle. How can I recreate that in Texas and New York and other key states that we are actively involved in? And New York is definitely one of them. So that's another big goal too, is like, we're not done yet. We have we're going places. We still have a lot of room to grow. I have a lot of energy and behind this business because I really believe in what we're doing. I believe in our cookie, but I believe in what it stands for and what it's sharing with others. Is this whole idea of like, like, let's using the nostalgia of a cookie to build community. That's what we're doing, right? And so it's my mission to continue to build that message and share that with others and help people create that in their own lives and figure out what their cookie is, right? What's that thing that's bringing people together in your life? For you, it might be art, or it might be your show, it might be something else. But for me, it's a cookie. And it's just been so rewarding to see how people have been able to come together through cookies.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I really hope that my platform here will help you to spread your mission, your story, and your passion to so many others who can buy your amazing products and try your delicious treats, because I'm dying to try them now. I'm sold. I'm ready.
We're going to send you some, so don't you worry.
Thank you. Okay, so bonus question. When was the last time that you felt fearless?
That's a great question. I would say the last time that I felt fearless was the day that I filed for my DBA at Cookies with Tiffany. And it was the day that I was like, I'm doing this. I'm starting this business. This is going to happen. It's going to be I'm all in. I'm fully dedicated to this. I believe in myself. I believe in my people. I believe in my product. And that day that I went online and I filed for that, LLC and then the DBA, Cookies with Tiffany, that was a moment I'll never forget, because that's terrifying. It is terrifying because you're like, all of a sudden, this is my livelihood.
It's real, yeah.
It's real. This is real. Like, there are bills need to pay. There's things happening,
taxes.
Right? Yeah. There's taxes. There's life. There's whatever. And so I think at that point, I believed in myself so much that I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I believe in it. I believe in what's going to happen here. And I'm willing to put what I need to put into it to make it happen. So that's got to be it.
I love that answer. Okay, so my last two questions for you is, first, is there any advice for the audience, for those who are just starting out as an entrepreneur or trying to find their passion or what has them, feeling the most joy? And is there any advice for you to share with them today?
Yes. Bet your concept. I mean, there's a lot of things that I wanted to start in my life, but really understand your concept, run your numbers, understand what the marketplace looks like. Is there a need for that? See what your competitors are doing, identify who your key competitor is and stalk them, right? Like, look at their website. Yeah. Go to their shop, buy their cookies online. I have a whole section in my office of cookies that I bought from every single company nationwide. Anytime I hear of a new cookie company, I buy their stuff and I try it with my team. We look at the packaging, we look at the flyers, we see everything, the online experience, I obsess over that. And it's very important because you need to see where you fit. And that's how you're going to determine what your advantage is. Your advantage is based on what you're doing better than someone else. And you only know what you're doing better than someone else is if you know what someone else is doing, right? And you can compare it to that. So that's the number one thing is don't go invest all your money. Don't go get your website built. Don't go get your t-shirts made with your logo on it. Really vet your concept and position yourself to be successful. And if you position yourself to be successful, you know your numbers, you've done all your research, then when you put it all together, you have a really good chance of it succeeding because you've already vetted your numbers, you've already talked to people, you've already done your research, and you're in a really good place in that sense. Number 2 tip, trust the process, believe in yourself, and be willing to pivot. Because there's a lot of times where you think you're just like, no, this is the way, but your customers will tell you what the way is. And they're the ones buying your product. You're not buying your own product. I mean, you should eat your own or enjoy your own product. You like it so much, you would even eat it, right? Or listen to it or whatever, wear it, whatever the business is. But obsess over your customers to the point where you're willing to make changes and adapt and pivot for them, because that is everything for your business. And it takes time for things to build. It takes time for your business to catch on. So don't just start and then a month later, nope, nobody likes it. Like, well, why? Do they not know about it? Like, give it some time. Trust the process. Sure, maybe you need a couple other extra jobs on the side to get you through that. But like, if you have a great thing and you believe in yourself and you've done your numbers and you've vetted your concept, allow it time to take traction. Don't just give up or be disappointed or discouraged when it doesn't that first month. Not everybody opens their doors and has a line down the street. That doesn't happen for everyone. So just I always remind myself that, right? Like not everyone has a line down the street. And so you want customers that are of value and that they will come back. And so I probably was more than 2 tips, but anyways.
I wasn't counting. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was really awesome advice. Thank you for that. I personally will also add to that and say the first 2 years are always the hardest. I'm currently I finally passed the 2-year mark, but I'm still struggling. Keep going. It's hard, but keep going.
Yes, and you got this. I believe in you too. So there you go.
Thank you very much. All right, and then lastly, to end our show, how can our audience find you?
Yes. So you can find me online, cookieswithtiffany.com. If you're in the Seattle area, we do on average 5 farmers markets every week, and you can find out where we are every week on our website, cookieswithtiffany.com. You can also find us downtown Seattle every Tuesday doing a cookie pop-up. And then you can find us every month on Studio 13, Fox Q13. We do a monthly show there, and they post that on YouTube. And you can find our cooking show there. And that's where you're going to find tips and tricks. And I'll show you how to make our seasonal cookies.
Oh, so excited. Thank you for joining us today, Tiffany. You have been so delightful and my cheeks are hurting from smiling so much. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. What an honor to be here. Thank you.
And that is a wrap. Fearless Narratives airs every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. Thank you for joining us today. You have been an amazing audience and we really love your support. So we also would love for you to give us a nice 5-star review. And until next time, stay fearless.